Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight Out of Boston here, and today I'm back for episode number 28 of my Pittsburgh Pirates franchise series here on MLB 17 The Show. So 1/3 of the way through the season, we are 30-18, 2 months in. As we move into the month of June, we actually win our first 4 games of the month. And now we've got the first year player draft picking number 30 in the first round. I thought we were actually going to pick a little bit higher because I thought they did the spots based on the result of the playoffs, not best record, but I think we did have the best record in the league, which is why we picked 30th. Anyway, second round already, we get this Mark Kimball, this catcher that I'd actually considered picking in the first round, but I went with Alexi Ortiz, who was a bit more of an MLB-ready starting pitcher. Not quite MLB-ready, but closer to MLB-ready than this catcher was. So that's why I went with the starter in the first round. Luckily, that catcher fell to the second round, so we got 2 good picks. The catcher has 90 potential, and the starter has 88. Which is really nice. And then we got another 82 potential starting pitcher in the second to last round. So overall, a pretty solid draft. The rest of the players kind of just organizational filler, maybe future bench guys. But we're continuing to play very good baseball into the month of June as we are extending that gap between our wins and our losses. Almost double now as we're 41-22. And it's kind of time to start thinking about trade season. You can see I'm shopping around a guy like Josh Bell. So I'm thinking, you know, we do have these sort of 2 spots in the lineup that aren't really solidified. We have kind of a revolving group of young guys filling third base and right field. Right field, it's been Austin Meadows and Josh Bell, kind of platooning, but kind of trying to get them both starts against, you know, both lefties and righties. Also, look at Marte. He's going to take Wei-Yin Chen deep to start this ball game as the Pirates are going to go on top 1-0. I'm taking on Miami. Miami actually enters this game only a half game out behind the Nationals in the NL East. Nationals are only like 37-27 or something so far, and I think Miami's 36-27. So Washington not quite having as good of a year as they had last year. But back to what I was saying, at third base we have Diego Vina and Alan Hansen, both of whom are starting tonight, as opposed to Brandon Crawford, who gets the day off against the left-handed Chen. But anyway, those guys have kind of been platooning because Vina is better against lefties, and Hansen kind of, I'd say he's 50-50. I mean, he's a switch hitter, and his ratings don't really indicate that he's better against lefties or righties, and I haven't looked at his real-life splits. Drew Hutchison getting the start for the Pirates tonight. I've talked a little bit in the past about how I'm kind of swapping him and Tomlin in and out of the rotation. I think Hutchison's going to make this start, then I think before I simulated to the next game that I played, which I already have recorded and edited, I'm actually going to do that commentary right after I do this one, but I think even before I played that game, I put Tomlin back in, so kind of been swapping back and forth if you haven't been following, but anyway, back to what I was saying. So we have those sort of 2 position player spots, and we have 4 prospects, and that doesn't even include, we also have a guy named Miguel Torres playing right field for us, who's up to a 70 overall. He's got very good contact ratings. His potential's in the upper 80s, so he is certainly, he could certainly vie for that right field spot later in the year. He's having a very good year at AAA for us right now. And then we also have, a couple young guys who are sort of more bench players, but guys who could fill in at third base if needed. Guys that I signed as minor league free agents. We have that Oliver Wilson guy, that like 18, 19-year-old shortstop with B potential, is already in the mid-70s for overall. So we have a lot of different options, which means we're kind of in the perfect position to sort of trade from that position of depth, that position of strength, with all of our prospects, and maybe package together a couple guys and get one more impact player for this roster. So the question is kind of trying to find what spot of that we want to get that impact player in. And I think there's arguments to be made for pretty much every part of this team. I think you could argue that going out and getting an impact right fielder or an impact third baseman would really lengthen the lineup. It would make Brian Dozier and Brandon Crawford's early season struggles kind of minute or not so important, because those guys have struggled a little bit, and if we just added one more impact bat in the middle of that lineup, we would really be featuring a strong lineup at that point. If you look at the rotation, I think behind Cole, who has struggled this year, and Tanaka, it's been a little bit up and down. I think Nova's been up and down, but he's been hot lately. Tomlin and Hutchison have been good, but I've kind of talked about it in the past. It's tough kind of relying on those guys so much as more than Game 4 starter. Really, even ideally, I think they'd be the number 5 starter who wouldn't even make the playoff rotation, either of those guys. And then you have Antonio Liriano, who has been up and down as well. His peripherals are pretty nice. I'm going to do a statistic update in the next video. You'll see guys' numbers halfway through the season. And Liriano's been fine. I think his FIP at that point was like 3.5. The ERA was closer to 4. But still, I think you could argue that there's kind of room for one more starter in that rotation. If you got one more impact starter and you had a playoff rotation of Tanaka, Garrett Cole, some trade candidate, and then your number 4 starters, Ivan Nova, that's really, really tough to beat. And then even in the bullpen, I think we have Felipe Rivero, who hasn't been very good so far this season. He's really struggled. I think he's pretty much the spot to upgrade in the bullpen. And you could argue that we could use one more sort of impact reliever, even like if we went out and required some sort of elite reliever, like an Andrew Miller potentially, or someone of that caliber, and maybe didn't use him as the closer, but used him in that Andrew Miller role. He would really take the pressure off of some guys like Neftali Feliz, Derek Law. And it's not that those guys have performed poorly this year, it's just that, you know, relievers are so tough to rely on. None of those guys are even 90 overalls, so it's not like anytime I bring any of them in, I'm 100% confident I'm going to get through this inning without allowing a run. That's never been the case with any of those guys. I feel pretty confident when I'm pitching with Tony Watson or Derek Law, but still, we don't really have that true shutdown caliber guys. So I think they're, you know, and we're already a very good team, as Dozier's actually going to hit this one out. This was a smoked line drive to straightaway center field, as that actually kind of hooked towards the right there. But I love those low fastballs in this game. That's pretty much my pitch, is like the low two-seamer. And that was just crushed right there from Dozier. That was kind of that low fastball that I do love to devour. So anyway, back to what I was saying though. Kind of, you know, interesting spot for the Pirates coming up to this deadline, because there are a few different spots, a few different trades we could make, and it's going to be, I think the biggest decision we're going to have to make is deciding which guys we're okay with dealing away between the Alan Hansen, Diego Vina, Josh Bell, Austin Meadows group, / Miguel Torres, whatever his name, I guess it's Miguel Torres. And we could also trade him, but his stock is probably lower than the others because he hasn't played at the Major League level yet, and his potential is only a B technically, although I checked with the player ratings and it's an 89, so it's basically an A. You wouldn't have to go that much further up to get the A. So, you know, someone from that group is likely to be moved. Maybe we could trade even one of our starting pitching prospects, because we've drafted a few more of those the last couple of years, and we still have Mitch Keller, I think it is, or Kepler. I guess it's Keller, who is kind of in the low 70s right now. Probably would be in the rotation next year, maybe towards the end of this year, if we had an injury of some sort. But you know, he's another guy. He's a top 50 prospect, a potential starter. I think he's 22 or 23 now, so a little bit of a late bloomer. But you know, we've already traded Tyon and Tyler Glasnow. We haven't been afraid of trading pitching prospects in the past, and we could certainly use one of those guys if either had developed in this rotation right now. But that was my thing with both of them, was I was kind of concerned that neither were really going to develop in time. So there's a nice play by Thames. He stops that one, throws on a Hutchison at first in time. So you can see we're handling this game pretty well right now. 6-1 in the 8th inning. Hutchison's still in there, and he's actually going to allow a solo home run to JT Riddle. This is going to go just inside the foul pole to make it 6-2. So Hutchison's day is going to be done after that. He goes 7+ innings, the 2 earned runs. Pitched pretty well. I think he had 5 or 6 strikeouts and maybe 1 walk. And, you know, didn't have overpowering stuff or anything like that. I mean, Hutchison, you know, I don't really think he's ever going to dominate. I mean, he's not that, you know, he would never really be like a top 3 starter for me, but you know, he serves that sort of number 4, number 5 role pretty well, and he's been good out of the bullpen too. I always feel confident when I'm using him. I really like his pitch mix. He's a good hard slider and a nice circle changeup. So, you know, you have pitches to throw to lefties and righties, and then he has a good fastball and a nice two-seamer, so keep the ball on the ground with the two-seamer if possible. I've got Tomlin in now, pitching the rest of the 8th inning, trying to pitch the rest of the 8th inning, but as you can see, 2 guys are on at this point, so I am going to turn to the closer, Tony Watson, and try and get this final out, as there are 2 outs in the 8th inning, and it's a lefty, D. Gordon up, so the 1-1 count. That ball grounded to the second baseman, easy play for Brian Dozier, and that goes for the 3rd and final out of the inning. So on to the 9th we go. It is Watson back out there as that ball is bounced back to him. He will throw on to first for the out, 1 away. And you can see Watson in a bit of discomfort. He's actually going to have to come out of the game. A little bit of a ribcage injury. Somehow he bruised his ribs on that play. I don't really understand how, but luckily he would be fine. No DL stint is going to be needed. I'm going to spoil that one for you guys right away. But take a look at this play. Austin Meadows playing this one perfectly off the right field carom, and he guns out the runner at second base. Meadows actually was double switched into the game, I think probably in the 8th inning, because Josh Bell did get the start out at right field today against the left-handed pitcher Wei-Yin Chen, but Meadows making the most of the opportunity coming into the game defensively late, and he makes a nice play there for the outfield assist. 2 outs for JT Riddle, who's going to fly one to center field. Marte is there. And the Pirates are going to go on to win this ball game. Final score is 6-2, a solid victory for the Pirates. Marte and Brian Dozier both homer in the game. And we beat a pretty good Miami team. Like I said, I mean, this Miami team contending for a playoff spot, potentially contending for that NL East crown this year. And, you know, we defeat them pretty handily here in Miami. I don't remember quite how the rest of the series went. I think we won the series, though, so solid stuff. We continue to play well. We really haven't slowed down, but we really don't have a choice because even entering this game, I think we were 41-22 and still a half game out of the lead in the Central because the Cubs are continuing to play very, very well. So we pretty much have to continue this pace, and that's why, you know, I do kind of want to look to the trade deadline and figure out what ways we can make this team better. So that is going to do it. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.